Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Temple City City Council meeting for September 16th. Could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sternquist.
Present.
Councilmember Vizcarra.
Here.
Councilmember Yu is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Chavez.
Here.
Mayor Bloom.
Here.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Yu for cause.
Second.
Okay, he's excused for cause.
What does that mean?
Okay, item 3 is the invocation. This evening, we have the pleasure of having Pastor Jim Walden from the First Baptist Church over here on Baldwin Avenue to provide our invocation. He's been the senior pastor at the church. He's been there for about a year. There are 2 other churches that worship on their campus, the Kachin Baptist Church, which is natives from northern Burma with services in Burmese, and the Rock Mountain Baptist Church, a Chinese congregation with services in Mandarin. They have a special event. They have a harvest fair coming up for families on Friday night, October 31st. Pastor Walden, could you lead us, please?
Let's stand. Would you bow with me? Father, I want to thank you so much for tonight. We love you, and we are so grateful for this town that you love. I'm so grateful for this council, each one who serves and gives of their time. And God, you have blessed America, and we cannot thank you enough. I do ask that you would bring us rain, that you would pour out your blessing on this state as we need it so much. Father, that you would give this council wisdom as only you can, and that you would continue to bless America. Father, that you would protect us from those that would want to do harm, and that your glory and your name would be known. So grant this council wisdom. Thank you so much for loving all of us. In Jesus' name we say, amen.
Amen.
Okay, remain standing. One of our regulars at the council meeting here, Jim, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome our new city manager. Today's his second day on the job. Brian Cook, I believe your family's here. Are they still here?
They've left each other.
They have. Okay, his wife Kristen and son Alexander were here checking out the council chambers just to see where Dad works. So anyhow, welcome aboard.
Thank you again.
Okay, we have a presentation this evening on the beautiful yard of the quarter. Community Development Director Michael Forbes.
Thank you. Good evening. Just show a couple pictures very quickly for the winner of the Yard of the Quarter for this quarter. And are Mr. and Mrs. Chang in the audience? Oh, good. I'm glad you're able to make it. I'll show a couple pictures and then you can come up and we can give you the sign for your yard. The winner for this quarter is, drumroll, 6101 Camellia Avenue. The owners are Loveland and Keith Chang. Yes. It's located at the corner of Camellia and Garibaldi for anyone who would like to go by and check it out. And just go through the pictures quickly here. The theme for this quarter was water efficient landscaping. So we selected a property that we thought was a good example of how you can, as the council recently discussed, conserve water with your landscaping, but still have good hardy plant materials and still make your house look very nice as an alternative to just shutting off the water and letting things die. Oops. So Mrs. Chang, if you would come forward, please. And
Did they use the
Fine.
program?
I actually don't know. If you can come forward. Did you take advantage of any of the rebate programs that are available?
You know, I applied for a program and I went through the application process, but
Yeah, please use the microphone. Thank you.
I was actually turned down because I was given the response that the zip code doesn't qualify for the program that they have. And it's a state program, I believe, located in Sacramento. I went through the whole application process, took pictures, you know, went through like the square footage of my yard, had everything measured, and for some odd reason, I wasn't able to get a rebate, but, you know,
What's your
It's-
zip code? Is it
91780,
91780?
yes. I was
Well,
so
that doesn't bode well for the
surprised.
rest of Temple City.
So I don't know if we want to
Might
talk
wanna
to
look into that.
Sacramento about that, but that's worth exploring.
Could we take a look at that?
Loveland, is that granite?
Yes, it's decomposed granite for the walkway.
Very nice. We have a sign, and if you want, we can have the council come up here and get a picture.
Post this in your yard and keep this as it's open for get a picture here with the city council.
Did you guys do it yourselves? Or did you get a landscaper?
A friend of ours, he's sort of an amateur of sorts. He started his own business. Yeah, so we helped him out.
Oh, sorry.
See, good things do happen on Camellia.
Oh,
Well,
God.
she didn't get the rebate, so there's a camellia drink jinx.
You would.
All right, we'll now move to item 6 on the agenda, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. I have 4 people lined up to speak here. First of all, be Karen Noyes with the library program.
Good evening. It's been a while since I've been here. I'll introduce myself. I'm Karen Noyes, your Children's Services Librarian. After a month of absence, I'm pleased to report that our story times, all 4 of them, are back in October, as well as our regular children's programs, Untidy Tuesdays for art development, and our school-age anime club. A special note in the children's department, we're celebrating with the nation's libraries and bookstores Star Wars Reads Day on October 11th to promote reading and through Star Wars. And also, we're celebrating, on the same note, Frozen media event to promote all our Disney items and snow-related things. Hopefully it'll be cold enough in October. We're also opening our Family Place workshop, and and also this month, we have the Pentel Bookmark Contest, which ends on October 11th, and we're having a bookmark contest workshop for children ages, basically, who can draw, so 2 through 18. In teen services, we have a lot of the same programs continuing, like Game Day and Book Club. Of note, the teen conversational English class will continue. That's free for youth here in Temple City, as well as a teen hip-hop kickboxing fitness class. My colleague Grace Shang earned a $5,000 grant to promote fitness here in Temple City youth at the library, and that program is also free. In adult services, we are continuing with our citizenship classes and our Affordable Care Act workshops. We have a free housing law clinic, a social security savvy workshop, and a special workshop on using technology at the library. And that concludes the programs for this month.
Question?
Ms. Noyes, on the
Yes.
Affordable Care Act, will you be actually helping people sign up, or are you just giving them information?
Yes, well, there's both. There's a person at the table. She can help get resources for people, help them, assist them in signing up. So it's not just the resources. She actually helps you get in contact, because there's many different parts.
Great. Thank
And
you.
that's free as well. She's been very helpful and signed many people up in the community already.
Oh, good, thank you.
Thank you. As with many things in the city here, you have a very busy schedule, so I appreciate
I
that.
love it, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, we have Todd Palmquist from the San Gabriel Valley Consortium of Homelessness. Welcome, Todd.
Good evening, welcome. I'm Todd Palmquist, like you say, I'm the Executive Director of the San Gabriel Valley Consortium on Homelessness. And I bring greetings to you all from my council and my board of directors. If you're not familiar with the consortium, I've left in a packet of information for you a brochure about us that tells you about our mission statement and strategic goals, and it gives you an idea of who we are and what we're doing. Currently, we're active in a number of programs that might affect directly or indirectly the city. One, we're actively involved with the Council of Governments, and we assisted them in putting together the Homeless Services Survey that they've recently sent out to all the communities here in the Valley, and we hope that you all got that and that you'll respond to that. Recently, the LA Homeless Services Authority has also contracted with us to provide administrative support here in the Valley for the 2015 point-in-time homeless count. We're going to be providing assistance to all the communities in getting volunteers and deployment centers and coordinating with LAHSA. So we look forward to working with the city on that as that moves forward. Also, HUD recently, or not recently, but has mandated that every continuum in the United States adopt a coordinated access system. And in response to that, what's happened here in the LA continuum is that we've got two programs that were rolled out 1st of July. One is called a coordinated entry system, which is for individuals and is sponsored through United Way. The other one is called the Homeless Services for Families program, which is through LAHSA. What I've done in the packet again is I've left you a couple of short pieces which fills you in a little bit on both of those programs. And also I've left you a card which basically tells you for the CES programs, the 3 access centers that can be used, and for the family program, how they can access those family programs. We've also been active with a group of churches here in Temple City who are trying to work to coordinate services and things, and we've been very involved, and that's a really good group to get active in, and we're glad to participate with them. Finally, I've left you with a copy of a proclamation that my board adopted, which proclaims the 3rd week of November as Homeless Awareness Week, and we'd like to encourage the council, if you feel like doing so, that possibly in the next couple of weeks or months you could adopt the same. Finally, all these items, I'm just glossing over them very quickly, would make the offer to the new city manager and to the council to come back and meet with you and have work sessions or work with you however you want to get you up to speed on all these new programs and what we're doing and hopefully how we can coordinate with you guys.
Good.
Thank
good.
you.
Well, one question, as one of the churches, would that be First Methodist, David Palmer?
Yes, David.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
contacted,
That's
because
the
I know
group.
he's really interested in that.
Yeah, there's a group of about 6 churches that
Good.
they've been working, and actually I think they're going to take a lead helping you with with us with the county stuff too.
Good.
Yeah, because we've been working with the churches in town here, trying to get them to play a role in certain things that they
This is
can-
a good
they-
group, so I think you're going to
It
find that they're
is.
going to be very supportive.
It is. Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmquist. Okay, next I have Dennis Griffin. Dennis, come on up. Give us your name and address if you would, and what your issue is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis Griffin. I live at 9421 Live Oak. Been a resident here at Temple City about 13 years now. Time has gone by. I got a 10-year-old son, Joe, who I brought with me today just to learn the process, kind of learn the city council, explaining some of those things to him. My concern today, my concern today is the speeding that's on Live Oak. I live between Cloverly Avenue and Encinitas, and there's a stop sign on Cloverly. And usually what typically happens is people get to that stop sign and they drive as fast as they possibly can from Cloverly to Encinitas. I personally have witnessed 3 accidents on the corner of Live Oak and Alessandro. One accident, the car actually ran into one of my neighbor's homes. Another accident, they knocked down another neighbor's gate. The stop sign at that particular street, it's kind of tricky because you have to pull all the way up to the front of the street to really see, because the stop sign is like maybe 5 yards off of the street itself. So typically what you see is people kind of inching up to see. And if cars are parked, it really obstructs your view coming this direction. And a lot of the accidents have occurred on that street. My hope is that we could probably consider a four-way stop sign or something at that particular corner just to slow people down and kind of reduce some of the accidents that's taking place. And those are the only ones that I witnessed. I spoke with my neighbor across the street, and she had seen one other accident that was separate from the one that I had actually witnessed. And that's what I came here today, to just see if we could have a conversation about maybe doing something. I came maybe about 5 years ago, inquiring about that process, and I'm just hoping maybe this time around something can be done, because I just don't want somebody to get hit or something to happen on this particular corner. And I know the police, they can't cover everything, like they can't. I know there has been some times where law enforcement has gone out and written a ton of tickets because people are just going really fast on that street. So that's my,
So you're saying the Alessandro
yeah, that corner.
intersection is the bad
Right.
one?
That's the bad one. Like, that's the one where I've seen the 3 accidents. And usually you hear the tires kind of screeching, you know, but there's no accident, and you run outside, you look, and it's like, oh, 2 cars almost hit one another. And I just think that one street, for whatever reason, is just, I mean, people speed in general, but I just think once they hit Cloverly, man, they take off. They try to get there as fast as possible to Encinitas.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have staff take a look at that,
Okay.
that specific location. I know we did about 2 years ago, we did a traffic calming study to look and see where there are places in town. And a lot of these have been identified, and we're trying to address them one by one if we can. So the city manager will have staff look into it, and if need be, we've got your information, so.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffin. Okay, next I have Adela Enriquez. Adela said she's not sure she wants to stand up in front of everybody and speak, but I think she said she will.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My question is, my English is not very well, but I try to explain you people.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? a little bit?
Okay. My trash bill is so high for single woman, and that's the only me to work. That's why I said, oh, all the time when I turn around and see my bill, I said, oh, I don't know what am I gonna do, and I try to close, but they can't. People, they told me, you can't close it. And I had a sister to live in Temple City too, and I say, you know, you pay half and I pay half. But you know, to pay my bill, they say, no, go to Temple City and you can make a question over there. That's the only way I can do it.
Okay, so your question is, or your concern is that your trash bill's too high?
My
and
trash is too.
As we spoke a little bit before the meeting here, you know, you're a single person, I believe, and saying you don't have much trash, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get too much trash. Like I said, if I put outside one day a week, it was fine with me. But they don't give me a chance, you know, to put less my bill.
okay. Thank you. I know, you know, the Athens is our trash collection company, and I know they have standard rates for residential, and there's rates for commercial.
Mhm.
And I'm not aware that they have any other programs.
Okay.
I know you're brand new, Brian, but
Mr. Mayor, we'll take a look, and as I'm getting more familiar, and I'll defer to staff on that. And as long as we have Ms. Enrique's information, we can at least get back to her so she can at least understand the bill, understand what's being charged and why it's being charged. And if there's any issues that we can resolve, we'll try to do that with our partner companies.
Okay. All right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. If you
Thank
could do
you.
me a favor, if you could put your address on
Okay,
here.
thank
We have your
you.
phone number. Okay, is there anyone else that would care to speak
Can I
under
use
public
it?
comments
You
at
can?
this time?
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, we will move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion as recommended unless removed for further discussion. If members of the city council or persons in the audience wish to discuss any matters listed on the consent calendar, please address them at this time. Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any opposition? If not, the consent calendar has been approved. Okay, we will go to item 8, which is public hearings. We have none this evening. Item 9 is unfinished business. We have none tonight. Under item 10, new business. Item A is the award a purchase agreement to KTS Networks for the purchase of a new telephone system. I believe Administrative Services Director Tracy House will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council members. Staff is requesting that the city council consider the purchase of a new telephone system this evening. Our current telephone system is very old and antiquated, and from all the records I could locate, it looks like we've had this phone system since 1994. And it's an old antiquated PBX system, and basically communications is transferred over old copper lines. And as a result, this old copper communications infrastructure has to be maintained along with our computer system and its data network infrastructure. Further, there is no direct dial feature into any of the city offices or departments, and all calls must be answered by an office assistant who acts as a traditional receptionist in City Hall. So the new proposed telephone system has an internet protocol, which means it transmits the voice data using the existing data network infrastructure system. So there will be no longer any need to continue to maintain 2 data communication systems, which will be a cost savings to the city. This system is completely portable. In other words, it's like disconnecting and reconnecting computers in the data network system. The system can be basically unplugged and plugged back in. So if there's changes into City Hall over the next few years, this will not disrupt this current or this proposed telephone system. We proposing this also because this will be a better utilizations of current staff resources with the efficiency with direct dialing and not having to answer every telephone call. There will be an option, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a minute, but there will be always an option to hit 0 and get a live person, and we propose that person to be the current office assistant that also acts as the receptionist, so there will still be a face and a voice at City Hall. But we're anticipating that this person will have to answer less calls throughout the day, providing more capacity to address other work areas. We plan, the installation of this new telephone system would take approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and we would do an outreach to the community through Connect Magazine and other forms of communication of the new direct dial numbers that come in directly to each department and to each staff member. But City Hall will also maintain its current telephone number that I know everyone is very familiar with, and that will still be answered. If someone dials 285-2171, that will be answered by the current office assistant or receptionist. So that concludes my presentation. I would be glad to answer any questions you may have. Tonight, we're asking that the City Council award the purchasing agreement to KTS Networks and authorize the city manager to sign that purchase agreement and appropriate $41,611,000 from undesignated fund balance for this purchase. I can tell you that staff has been contemplating and considering proposing this phone purchase for a number of months, but we just didn't have all the facts and figures that we needed at the time that we put together the 14-15 adopted budget. So we chose to not propose it at that time since we didn't have all the information we needed, and to come back and make the proposal to the City Council at this time.
Okay, are there any questions from council members?
I have a couple of them. So when someone calls City Hall, are they going to get an answering system that will have options, or will they get a live person?
Depends on what number they call. If they call the 626-285-2171, they'll get a live person.
Okay.
We will most likely set it up to where each individual staff member will have their own direct dial number, and then each department can determine if they want sort of a general number for each department to be proposed, or direct dialing it into each individual employee.
So for example, if I want to call Kathy over Parks and Rec, there's going to be a direct number, and somebody in Parks and Rec will answer the phone?
Well, actually, there will be a direct number into Kathy,
Okay.
and so Kathy will pick up the line. If she's not available, her
It'll go to
voicemail will
voicemail.
say, you know, please leave a message, or if you need immediate assistance, please dial 0, and then that will go back to the receptionist.
And you propose to have one of those different numbers for every employee, or just for heads of department? How, that seems like an awful lot of numbers.
Well, it's a very common practice, and when I say every employee, I'm not referring to, example, you know, seasonal Parks and Rec people, but our core staffing,
Yeah.
yes, we'll
So
have
30
either
to
each.
40 people.
Correct.
All right. Forgot my second question. Oh, well, maybe somebody else, I'll come back to it. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I think it's been a long time in coming.
Okay, I guess the only two that I have is, you know, we're just getting ready to start a needs assessment for City Hall.
Correct.
And the question is this sort of moving a little bit ahead of that? Should we wait for that to come in and make sure that we're dovetailed? That's the first question. And the second one is, you know, this was not budgeted. So, you know, we're looking at undesignated fund balance. And so at this point, this says I'm the first one in, so I get to grab the fund balance. So we don't get the option of saying what other things may be competing for this at this point.
Right. Well, just to answer your question about the budget, the ending or estimated ending fund balance for undesignated for June 30th next year is approximately $619,000. So there's certainly plenty of room, and I actually debated about including that part of the financial analysis in this report, but we'll be coming back to you. We come back to you on a quarterly basis with financial status updates, and then any budget amendments or adjustments that we need, that we may have at that time. And at that time, each quarter, I go back and do a sort of a history of this type of actions that's been taken over the last quarter, and then realign and report and realign on where we are in our fund balance. So there's certainly plenty of capacity, and I wouldn't have come forth and recommended it accordingly. And I did discuss with our interim city manager who just left about that particular analysis, and recommended I just come back on the first quarter financial status with, you know, the update of where we are on undesignated fund balance. But again, we had approximately 619,000 estimated. So I'm comfortable with this recommendation and that the resources are available. To answer your first question, you know, it's kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. If we do some, you know, facility upgrades in the next, say, 3 years or so, this system will definitely dovetail into any changes, and we'll be able to fit right in. And again, it'll be the plug and the unplug situation. You know, at that time, we may want to look at some upgrades, possibly to the phone system, which we probably could do. However, based on what I know now about facility upgrades, I really feel that this system is certainly adequate and is being recommended at this point just for the efficiency and the direct dialing and being able to be relieved of the maintenance of the separate communications copper lines. So I think it's more efficient at this time to make the recommendation.
Yeah, I guess I understand that. You know, it's been 20 years, so it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's not exactly a crisis at this point, and, you know, question whether we should wait for the needs assessment. I think it's only a couple months away. I don't think it's a real long.
Well, that would certainly be, you know, at the council's discretion to
Okay.
make that decision.
Or is part of the needs assessment going to include the telephone system? Or I thought that was just more for the actual utilization of the office space and buildings?
I know they're
I don't
they're
remember what the
addressing
scope
the
was.
heating and air conditioning, and, you know, there's.
Well, but heating and air conditioning is not telephone. I'm just asking if anybody remembers whether the telephone system was included within the scope of that needs assessment. If it's not, then there's not a reason.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just my experience with needs assessments of facilities of this scope, those types of things are considered, but what Mrs. House is recommending today is not necessarily a Band-Aid approach, but a patchwork to something that will be built upon. If you were looking at this in terms of return on investment, the dollars aren't really there from a return on investment standpoint. What you're getting here is a different service delivery to the community and for the employees right now, as we kind of have that gap in time between the needs assessment and what we will be able to achieve in terms of upgrades to the facilities over time. I understand your question, and it makes sense in the scope of what we are moving forward with. But looking at what this system provides, and I've had similar systems in different cities that I've worked in too, the level of maintenance that's required on the traditional copper wire PBX systems is both labor intensive and time intensive. It's not really conducive. One thing we'll get is something called unified messaging. Unified messaging means I get a voicemail at City Hall. I can pull up my iPad right now, look at my email, listen to that message right now. If you're calling me at 7 o'clock, I can get that pretty instantaneously. So there'll be a service efficiency level from a customer service standpoint for our employees and delivering that back to our constituents and our stakeholders out there. So I understand, and there's legitimate issues, but if we're looking just from a return on investment standpoint, that's not really there, but it is from a service delivery standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I remember what I was going to ask. One of the points that you had raised as a reason for replacing it was because this existing phone system's too staff intensive, meaning that somebody's got to answer the phones.
Every single line, every
Right.
single call.
But my understanding from what you've said earlier is that you're still going to maintain that position. Somebody
Yes.
still has to be there to answer the phone.
Yes.
They just may not be answering it as many times, but
During the
how are
day.
you going to know? I mean, they still have to be there and be
Right.
ready for that phone call, I guess.
Right, obviously, they'll be sitting there, but we will be able to give them other
So they'll be doing other
things that they
so
can be
less
working on.
interruptions, I guess,
Correct.
yeah.
Can I give an example? If I call, say I want to speak to Brian, ask Brian a question, I call, Joanne answers the phone, I say, may I please speak to Brian Howarth. And
Brian H.
Brian H. And she says, just a minute, I'll put you through. So if Brian's not available, he's in a meeting, he's not at his desk, I can leave him a voicemail. But I might want to speak to somebody else. I have to call back Joanne and go through that process again. And if that person too is not available, which has happened because they are also in a meeting, then I'll try someone else if I need a question answered immediately. So I can potentially be on that phone trying to find someone for quite some time. So efficiency, it's
Well,
not
will this new
efficient.
phone system then allow you, let's say, if you dial directly to Brian, he's not there, and it goes to his voicemail, will this system then allow you to automatically go to somebody else, or do you still have to call back?
No, you don't
No.
have to call back.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah.
difference. Okay, so it'll say, you want to talk to somebody else, press this number or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I have to say, you know, we were so anxious about getting our website, and we were so concerned that it was taking a little bit longer, and we kept referring back to being high performing. And let me tell you, when you call City Hall, it's the first contact you have, probably more so than using the website for people who don't have computers. And I think that process needs to be as streamlined as possible if we indeed are going to align with that high-performing standard that we have talked about now for quite some time.
No, I agree. I
Okay.
think our system is very frustrating. I don't really like it, to be honest with you. And just to briefly address Mayor Bloom's comment about the needs assessment, I see your point, but I would be, based on what I see in this report and the fact that this thing is at least 20 years old, I would hazard a guess that even if our needs assessment does look at this, they're probably going to likely conclude that we need an upgrade. So,
Okay, I'd like to move to public comments at this time. I'll open it for public comments. If anyone cares to speak on this issue. Mr. Jambazian.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Jerry Jambazian. I just have a couple questions. Does this include Live Oak also,
Yes, it includes all the city facilities.
including this building too?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you know what the maintenance cost is per year?
Actually, the maintenance in the first 3 years is included in this purchase price. And the maintenance after that is approximately, I believe it's about $6,000 annually. And we anticipate that we'll be able to more than make that up with the changes in how we're delivering, with the changes in our lines between AT&T and Telepacific.
I see.
So
Is-
that's why it came through. I didn't want to make a proposal that in the long run was going to cost us more. But because our current system is antiquated, we're actually going to save money in that area.
So if you're spending a certain amount with AT&T now, that would be reduced by how much do you think?
I'm estimating about $7,200 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. My next question would be the individual numbers, like 626, 285, 2171. Are the 626, 285, 2000 and up available? Or do they go in succession, or how does it work?
We don't, yes, we will have a block of numbers available to us. What they will be at this time, I don't know, and they most likely will be somewhat different. It'll probably be 626, could be even 286, or some other
I see.
prefix.
So,
But then there will be a block of numbers. So we will plan to advertise, or to roll this out and communicate this, with all the new numbers by department, and in some cases directly into, respective staff members. But we will also ensure and communicate that this number stays and will always stay. So if you have somebody that isn't, that knows City Hall number by heart, and that's what they're used to calling, they can still call that, and the phone will get answered, and their call will be directed.
I see. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, is there anyone else who would care to comment at this time? Okay, if not, I'll close public comments. Are there any council comments? Scott?
Go ahead, Mr.
I don't have it.
Okay. Councilman Sternquist, no?
I just want to make sure, and I think you've said it, that we're still going to have a live person. We're not going to be caught up in all these, you know, push, you know, dial 1 or 2 or thing. That's
Yes.
very frustrating at
I
times.
understand. I experienced that myself.
And I think a lot of our people would like to talk to a human being. so
And I agree,
we'll
and
still have
some people
A nice
may
human
very
being.
well
Yeah.
want
Well,
to still
a
do
nice-
that,
A
and
nice
that's
human being.
great.
Well, Joanne's a nice human being, so, and Millie, all of them, all of
We'll
people.
ensure that, and we'll be monitoring, obviously, how the phone system is rolled out and how it's first working, and we'll address any problems or, you know, things that you just mentioned, just like that, and ensure that they're straightened out.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to award the purchase to KTS Networks for the purchase of a new telephone system. Purchase agreement.
Okay?
Second.
You want to do the other,
There's a whole bunch
the
of
other
them.
two?
Not to
And-
exceed.
Not to exceed $41,610.12. And 2, to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the purchase agreement with KTS Networks. And 3, appropriate $41,611 from the undesignated fund balance to account number 01-970-81-4830. Now, I think that first amount had 12 cents.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh,
close.
16.
Yeah.
From cents in the budget, if that's okay.
I do that in my checkbook.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimously carried. We now move to item B, the approval of design professional services agreement with Community Works Design Group to develop facility master plan for Live Oak Park and Temple City Park. I believe our presentation is going to be made by our Parks and Recreation Director, Kathy Burrows.
Good evening, council members. Over the past few months, you've had quite a few recommendations coming to you that relate to our recently adopted Parks and Open Space Master Plan, and this is another one. Just as a brief background, on April 2nd, 2014, the council adopted a Parks and Open Space Master Plan. One of the main objectives of the master plan is to guide future capital improvement planning in regards to parks and recreation facilities. Subsequent to that, on June 3rd, the City Council approved the Action Plan Matrix Priority List as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Commission. Number 1 on that list was development of facility master plans for our 2 existing parks. The facility master plans will define a vision for future development or rehabilitation of the parks and will serve as a basis for funding requests when grants become available. The question has come up before, why do we need facility master plans? And there's a couple reasons. First of all, when asked how they would allocate funds if an additional $100 was available for Temple City Parks, cultural, sports, or recreation facilities, a majority of residents surveyed during the Parks and Open Space Master Plan process stated they would use the additional funds to improve or provide maintenance to our existing parks over purchasing land for new parks or developing facilities on other locations. Secondly, the facility master plans for the existing parks will provide a roadmap, as you mentioned, to future development of amenities that were identified in the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. Some of the top priorities or amenities requested by the residents were additional small picnic areas and shelters, large group shelters, new playground equipment, et cetera. Those need to be incorporated into our existing parks. Finally, as I just mentioned, the facility master plans will serve as a basis for funding requests when grants become available. The process we went through, a request for proposals was issued on July 14th of this year. The RFP recommended the consultants utilize the recently adopted Parks and Open Space Master Plan as a valuable resource and directed them to refer to the data and the needs assessment within the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. Therefore, extensive public input would not be required for these facility master plans. The council spent about $80,000 on the Parks and Open Space Master Plan last year, and we we want the consultants to use that information and not to start over again. So our budget estimate was about $35,000 for these, the specific facility plans. The deadline for submittal of proposals was August 8th. We received 9 proposals by the deadline. After a review of the proposals, staff recommended and interviewed 4 firms based on the scope of work, their understanding of the project, past experience on similar projects, and their proposed fees. The interview panel, which consisted of myself, Brian Howarth, and our Parks and Recreation intern, Leslie Caton, unanimously recommended that the city enter into an agreement with Community Works Design Group to prepare the Live Oak Park and Temple City Park master plans. We do have a representative, the president, Mr. Tim Maloney from Community Works Design Group, here tonight. If there are any questions, they are very familiar with park planning, parks master plans, have done similar projects throughout Southern California. So the City Council is requested to approve the design professional services agreement with Community Works Design Group to develop the Live Oak Park and Temple City Park master plans in an amount not to exceed $34,520, and authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the agreement. I'd be glad to answer any questions the council may have, and Mr. Maloney would be also able to answer any questions.
Okay, any council questions?
I have a question. In looking at the proposals, why is there such, many of them were very similar, but then you have some that are totally just completely, I mean, there's such a big gap. You've got one for $430,000. I mean, what happened there?
Well, I will tell you that the, probably at least 4, if not 5 of the firms, probably 4 of the firms that submitted proposals pretty much exclusively do park planning. And they were the ones that were relatively close to what we had anticipated what the budget was. I think there's a couple reasons. We did keep referring back to the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. Some of the groups may not have really embraced that. I will tell you that one of the consultants well, the 2 main ones that were extremely high are not really park planners. They do a lot of other types of work. One of them, Banner Construction, does more construction management. So in that regard, they had a lot of subcontractors that they were working with. And the number of hours that they were proposing between all their contractors and their staff was well over 2,000 hours. That is extremely high for this type of master plan. The other ones were right around 150, 200 hours. And so there was, I think, a little bit of maybe uncertainty on their part. But I was a little bit surprised with some of the costs that came in. And my first instinct, and I reread all their proposals, was that they were relying, but they were basically starting from scratch and doing a lot more than we were really asking for in this process.
They were wanting to start from
You know,
first thing.
and we
already had a lot of this stuff already done.
Exactly. And we specifically don't want that because we don't want someone to come up now and say something completely opposite of what the master plan came up and said. We obviously want to look at those types of things, but we don't want to start over again with our master plan process.
Now, in looking at the scope of services, I'm assuming that part of their work or what they will be doing is, especially for Live Oak Park, is to look at the use of the fields. For example, the baseball fields, you know, how they're configured, and make recommendations, perhaps, and maybe either changing them or modifying them or improving them, whatever.
Absolutely.
Will they then, in doing that, will they then have the opportunity to speak with the various organizations and youth leagues that use that and get their input into that? Is there a mechanism to perhaps make sure that that happens?
Yes, and actually Community Works Design Group is still recommending a few public meetings. Our initial intent was that we would have more smaller focus group meetings with individuals and groups that would be heavily impacted. The sports groups would be one. We're still trying to get together a group of our Tai Chi people that are in both parks to address their needs, their wants and needs. And so those are the types of meetings that we expect to come out of this to develop some strong recommendations for the next 20 years for your two parks, existing
So,
parks.
so now would be the time for those organizations or groups to step forward.
Exactly.
And be aware of the fact that we're doing this and put their 2 cents in, if they want to give them the opportunity.
Exactly, and we did request and recommend and urge them to attend the meetings with the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. Unfortunately, there was not a heavy involvement by the sports organizations at
Well,
that
all you
time.
can do is invite them, and we've done our job, so as long as we let them know that opportunity is available. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from council members? If not, I'll open it for public comments. Anybody, in the audience? Hearing, seeing none, I will close public comments. Council comments. Councilmember Viscara? Councilmember Sternquist? Mayor Pro Tem? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Bloom, I would make a motion that, to approve a design professional service agreement with Community Work Design Group to develop the Live Oak Park and Temple City Park master plans per attachment A in an amount not to exceed $34,530, and authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the design professional services agreement with Community Works Design Group.
Okay, could I have a second?
Go ahead.
Second.
Okay,
Very
it's
good.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimously approved. Mr. Maloney, welcome to helping us redo our parks,
Oh,
and
yeah.
look forward to a great job. Okay, thank you. We'll now move to item C, 10C. It's the installation of school zone crosswalks and multi-way stop controls at the intersection of Grand Avenue and Daleview Avenue. Okay,
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
okay.
My name is Melissa Demirci, and I'm with Transtech, and we provide traffic and engineering consulting support to the city. Tonight, I'm going to be summarizing a study on the analysis of a stop control and crosswalk in the west leg on Grand Avenue and Daleview. I'm sure you are all aware that Temple City is currently implementing the traffic improvements per the Safe Route to School project. And as part of the project, staff has completed a traffic analysis evaluating the installation of a stop control and a school crosswalk on Grand Avenue and Daleview Avenue. Briefly, I wanted to just give you a vicinity map of where exactly the intersection is. You can see that Clemenson Elementary School is approximately 500 feet north of the Grand Avenue, Daleview Avenue intersection, and you also have Freer Street to the north, which is an all-way stop control. Here's some further characteristics about the streets. Daleview Avenue is 25 miles per hour and approximately 624 vehicles per day, while Grand Avenue is 30 miles per hour and carries approximately 1,949 vehicles per day. For any stop control and school crosswalks to be installed, an engineering study must be completed following the guidelines listed in the California Vehicle Code, as well as the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Controls, specifically Section 21368 and Section 2B07. I wanted to give you some brief statistics and benefits about crosswalks. Per the National Center for Safe Routes to School, on average, 87% of students live less than 1 mile from campus, and 59% of students who live within a fourth of a mile walk or bike to school. And controlled crosswalks benefit school-age children who are considered high-risk pedestrians by directing them to cross at locations where appropriate traffic control can exist. And our recommendation, it's staff recommendation with the support of the Transportation and Public Safety Commission to approve an always stop with a stop ahead legend, sign, and stop bar across Grand Avenue at Daleview Avenue, as well as install a zebra or ladder stripe in the west leg. In the recommendations, you'll notice that for the north leg, there is a stop sign that's existing, as well as an already existing crosswalk that's been thermoplastic striped for high visibility purposes. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer them.
Is that a new kind of striping they're using for those crosswalks now? They seem much brighter and bigger. It's
And they are. They're thermoplastic
Okay.
striping, which adds the visibility and, I guess.
Can't miss them, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I guess, you know, as we're looking at this, as you described in the report, this meets some of the warrants, it doesn't meet other warrants for a typical stop sign here. And you did mention briefly, and I did want to bring to everyone's attention, you know, the traffic calming study that we did, and we got our report in November of 2012. One of the focus areas was around Clemenson School, and the recommendation in that report for Grand Avenue, there was concern with the high speed between El Monte Avenue and Santa Anita Avenue. And one of the recommendations was to basically put speed humps in there and a raised crosswalk to allow the students. So what's being proposed here is similar in nature. I mean, it's addressing the same issue.
Correct.
You don't want to have a crosswalk without some type of controls in there with the speed of the people moving up and down. So you're saying the crosswalk should be there to get students across Grand Avenue, get them to the south side so they can then disperse into their neighborhood or wherever. But to do that safely, we would need to put a stop sign there to, I guess, 2 stop signs to allow that to happen. Is that
That's correct.
okay? Okay, I'd like to open it for public comments. Anybody care to speak on this issue? Wow, lively crowd tonight. Okay, if there are none, we will close public comments. Council comments. Councilmember Sternquist?
Just thank you to Trans Tech for doing such a thorough job, and I can't have enough crosswalks in our city. It seems I see so many kids running or, you know, jaywalking, and so the more we have on the way to school, the better.
Okay, Councilmember Viscara?
No comments.
Do you know that in Pasadena, they give jaywalk tickets? They do. I had a client once leave my office to go put money in the meter across the street, and came back to my office and got a ticket for, I think, $150.
Across Colorado?
No, just across Garfield.
Wow.
Yeah, jaywalks. You don't want jaywalk, that's for sure. They do give tickets, at least in Pasadena. Temple City, we would never do that, of course. I think this is a great idea because those who are not aware, this is one of those areas where we've actually did a lot of work. We added sidewalks, the new crosswalks, and it really looks very nice. But to complete this, I think putting these stop signs in makes a lot of sense. I mean, we have crosswalks, we're asking kids to walk to school to use the crosswalks, yet there is no stop sign there. There's nothing to slow the traffic down. Same stop signs at the north end of that street. It makes sense that the south end should have pretty much the same thing. And I think I remember reading somewhere in the report that the principal of the school indicated that many of her students do come from that direction. And so obviously it makes a lot of sense to have that. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it'll help to really calm the traffic there and for the safety of the kids who are walking and riding their bikes to school. So that's all.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to compliment Trans Tech for doing the twofer on this one, not just the safe routes to school, but looking at the traffic calming issues. As we've talked, I mean, as we go forward, we want to do that. There's a number of things we're trying to do at the same time. Let's not do one, come back a year later and do another one and do another one. So let's sort of combine them all as we've done some repaving, as we've done the striping and the stuff. So thank you for bringing that to us. And I agree. I think this is another step to completing that safe routes to schools issue. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Bloom, I would make a motion that we review the warrant analysis for stop control, which we have already done, and adopt resolution number 14-5029, approving the installation of school zone crosswalks and multi-way stop controls at the intersection of Grand Avenue and Daleview Avenue.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? No one's opposed. This issue has been approved. Okay, we'll move to item 11 on the agenda. Communications, there is none. Update from the city manager. I'm not sure if at second day on the job,
Thank you, Mayor Bloom, members of the council. Real briefly, we do have some activities that are happening. I'll take a little bit different approach to this rather than just going through the calendar of items. Just highlight some items for you in the community that we want to emphasize. Fall classes are in session. Sign up at Live Oak Park in the community center. We are having a Citizens Academy, and we really would like to get a lot of residents out there. You'll get to learn about the nuts and bolts, as we call it, of City Hall operations. You'll get to meet with our directors here and understand how City Hall works, how a contract city works in terms of the day-to-day operations and what you get in terms of services to the community. Couple other quick items is the Metro fares have changed. And the base fare is going up from $1.50 to $1.75, and that includes now 2-hour transfers. We at the city will be dealing with and coming back to you on some issues related to the bus passes that we sell and the level of subsidy and what we can afford to do at a later date, and some additional analysis that Ms. Burrows and team will be doing related to that. And we are having a youth engagement conference. The event is October 23rd at the Civic Center. It's going to feature a lot of different civic leaders and people to engage the community, both with a sense of civic pride, but also civic engagement. And lastly, thank you again for this appointment. And it's a pleasure and a privilege to work for all of you, the community, and the staff. And day 2 and moving on to day 3.
Okay, very good.
Can I ask
believe
Brian a question?
Go ahead.
Brian, just wanted to ask, I think of when we got the email regarding the subsidy discussion, it was going to be in front of Parks and Rec
Correct.
sometime in February, but that's some time before if a subsidy should increase.
Right.
Is there any way to look at that before February?
Ms. Burrows and I will have that discussion soon, and we will come back to you in the best timely. It won't necessarily coincide exactly, but we'll come to you in the best timely manner that we can with the best analysis that we can, and lay out the options for you related to that. But since the bus fare was, the Metro costs were increasing, we didn't want to negate the fact that we have to deal with those issues later on with our bus pass subsidy that we provide our community.
Thank you.
Okay, just a follow-up on the Citizens Academy. I believe September 26th is the final deadline for filing for that. And the classes, I believe they're on Thursday evenings, starting in October
16th will be the first one.
October 16th. Okay. Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, item 13 on the agenda is council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings.
I don't have any.
Anyone have any? Cynthia? No.
That's not an ad hoc, that's a liaison.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's a
You
liaison.
can discuss that under your items.
So no.
Yeah. Okay, Tom?
I do have a few, unfortunately or fortunately. Mayor Bloom and I attended the Temple City Unified School District Standing Committee meeting. A few items or discussion items that we had on the agenda. One, we discussed or gave an update on the safe routes to schools. There were some questions left by the schools, and our staff and consultants were going to meet with school district members to discuss any questions they may have. But pretty much a Safe Route to Schools project is, if I remember, is pretty much done, complete. There's a few things I think that need to be perhaps looked into, but it's pretty much done. We also talked about, or gave an update regarding the use services provided to Temple City Unified by the city and the Sheriff Department, specifically discussing the existing crossing guard service and the proposed school resource deputy, and basically concluded that we would look into possible future grants or grants in the future to perhaps fund some of those things as well. We were given an update on the school bond measure. Those of you who may have driven by Temple City High School noticed that that one corner on Temple City Boulevard and what's the name of it? Lemon is, there's no building there anymore. And so that's their first building project that's going to go in there. New classrooms will be constructed soon. We talked about the Parks and Open Space Master Plan and specifically talked about creating a committee to work with the consultants consisting of members of the city, staff, and perhaps some commissioners, and working with several different people chosen by the Temple City Unified School District. So that will be formed, and they will then work with our consultants regarding that master plan.
Are they actually interested in using some of their land to?
Yeah, I think so.
Help-
Well, yeah,
help us
I
with
think they're willing. Well, they haven't gotten to that point,
They
but of
seem to
course.
be resistant in the past.
Well, in the past perhaps, but this is mostly, what we can do or what the needs are, and to discuss, what their needs are, what our needs are, and how we can accommodate or how we can use that in our master plan, I think. So that's more of the discussion, I think, in that regard.
At least they're engaged.
Yes, they are. We also talked about, as you all know, we have a joint council school board meeting coming up. I believe that's in October.
The 30th.
30th,
September 30th.
September 30th, okay, even
7
sooner.
o'clock.
And so some of the items, we asked them to just let us know what agenda items we were going to talk about. Some of the agenda items, and I'm sure Mayor Bloom could add to that, certainly discussion concerning the Civic Center project and their interest in participating in that. We also talked about the library mural, and I think they were receptive to relocating the current library mural over to the district facility across the street. So that'll be worked out. And then, of course, we also talked about sharing the city and school district calendar events so that we all know what's going on both sides. So very helpful, a very good meeting. Discussed a lot of items, and we'll have more of those, of course, at the joint meeting. Also participated in the Strategic Plan Implementation Standing Committee meeting. We actually have a meeting on Thursday to basically finalize that proposed plan, and so it can be presented to council to discuss further. So more will come on that. We had our first audit standing committee meeting. Chairperson Steve Curran is on that, myself and Councilmember Yu, and we met with the Vasquez and Company, their services director, and Tracy House, and they're now in the process of performing the audit process, and so we were filled in on the things that go into that, and they will be making their findings, present that to the standing committee, and then, of course, for presentation to the full council. Lastly, we had our first meeting regarding the city attorney evaluation ad hoc committee, met with members of staff to get their input and their insights into any questions or issues that we will discuss further with council and with the city with our city attorney to complete that evaluation. So that should be, Carl, I don't know that we have a meeting scheduled, a future meeting on that, but we will probably be scheduling a future meeting to discuss that further so that we can get that on the calendar soon. And that's it for the meetings.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Not related
Oh,
to
I'm
this.
sorry.
No. The Las Tunas Downtown Revitalization Standing Committee, we have not met for quite a while, and I think weren't we waiting for a traffic study to be completed? What's the status of that?
We have a standing committee meeting scheduled for the afternoon of the 26th, I believe, next Friday at 4 p.m. That
Friday, what a surprise.
Should have made it onto your calendar.
Jesus.
The traffic study we have.
That's what I've been talking about. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
We have a draft study almost complete. The staff and TransTech have been working with Kimley Horn, who's the consultant that prepared the traffic study. So we will have probably won't have the study itself ready to present to the standing committee, but we will have the results of the study, and we'll be ready to have that discussion with you on the 26th.
Haven't we been waiting like 3 or 4 months on this thing?
It's been going on for a while, but that's not uncommon for a traffic study. And we met with Kimley Horn about a month or so ago, or month and a half ago, to see the first cut of the study, and we asked them to go back and do a little more analysis than they had done initially and look at a few more things. So they've been working on that because we want to make sure that when we get the information to you, it's as complete as it can be. So
I'd kind of like to get moving on it because I'm termed out in 6 months, you know, so.
sure, yes, I would too. So we will after the standing committee meeting, our intent was to, pending direction from the standing committee, our intent is to bring something back for the entire council to look at in October, pending direction from the committee.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got two of them. The Rosemead Boulevard Standing Committee met last Friday. We were hoping that would be our last meeting. We're not quite there yet. Considerable discussion on, I'm sure the community knows there's some plants out there that look like they may be
Dead weeds.
dead weeds, okay? They're really not. Anyhow, we had discussion what to do with those, so we'll be coming back with some, our staff's looking at some options at this point, what to do with that.
I have a suggestion. Take them out.
Well, that's one of the options, and the question is, what do you replace them with, and, you know, what's the cost of all
Talk
that?
to this lady who won the award.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
she'll give us some.
all right. All right, the second one, we're looking at, you know, what are some of the loose ends, what are some of the adjustments that we may need? Our budget, we've used just about the whole budget, so whether there's some additional things that we want to do, possibly coming back to the council with a recommendation for some funding to do those, we're looking at those, hopefully wrapping this up with one more meeting and finishing this project. The other meeting we had, we put together last meeting a city manager transition ad hoc. It was Councilwoman Sternquist and myself. We met with interim city manager Don Penman on the 9th of this month and talked about the transition. He had been talking to Brian, so we just wanted to make sure that the transition was going well. Don, Mr. Penman did a good job of, I think, briefing Brian on the issues, and I know you guys have had lunch a couple times, a couple of weeks ago, and communicating with that. So the transition seems to be going quite well. We'll keep this one alive maybe for one more meeting in case anything comes up, and then we can dispense with that. Okay, item 14, council item separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Sternquist.
Well, I have a few this evening. First of all, I'm happy to report, I don't know happy, but happy to report on my mosquito endeavors, because I haven't done so in a little bit. But there is a new Australian mosquito that is now present in North America. It was actually found in Monterey Park, and it has the nickname of the Aussie Mozzie. And it actually hitchhiked from Australia here. I hope not with our Australian students,
That didn't come back with our kids, did it?
right?
Okay.
But it
the Australian kids are coming this week,
Oh, goodness.
so we hope they don't bring any more with them.
But it was about the same time frame, I must say. And this mosquito is similar to the Asian tiger mosquito in that it bites during the day. And this mosquito is found in the edges of containers versus in the water pool itself. So if you clean out your water dishes or plant containers, be sure to just kind of run your finger through the ridge, and that'll get rid of them.
Bitten.
Say that?
You'll get bitten.
No, you're not going to get bitten. It's usually the larva that's there.
okay.
So they have short flight spans, and they have little black markings on them if you're out looking for them. But they haven't been found to be lethal to humans, but they do transmit heartworm into animals, so that is a concern. So if you see your dog acting a little bit unusual, it might be best just to go ahead and take them to the vet and see if that could be possibly heartworm. I attended the League of California Cities conference along with Councilmember Chavez, and one of the most interesting sessions that I went to had to do with retirements of city managers, interestingly enough. And basically, what they were saying is that in the next 5 to 10 years, there are going to be a lot of retirements from city managers. And it's going to provide a less experienced staff for cities. So quite a few cities have gotten together to collaborate and provide training for employees that are not city managers but are aspiring to be city managers. And ICMA has wonderful training opportunities and a mentorship program for anyone who is interested in becoming a city manager in the future. They actually, the speaker basically said for a cup of Starbucks coffee, you can get yourself a mentor for an hour and a half from ICMA, who is a city manager that belongs to this coalition of those helping to provide younger employees with future opportunities as city managers. And they will be your mentor. So you can call and get hooked up with a city manager that belongs to this group, and they can mentor you, and it seems like a wonderful program. So if you're interested, call ICMA. They have a list, and I'm sure, Brian, you're probably familiar with this program. And let's see, one of the things that was really interesting about this whole topic is they were saying that in the past, city managers came from a myriad of different types of professions and didn't necessarily always have to work in a city or have public administration backgrounds. But now it seems that the younger city managers are all coming from public administration. And they are looking at their roles as city managers much differently than the older city managers who are now getting ready to retire. So it's very interesting. There's all this information at ICMA. You can Google it and look. So I just wanted to share that for anyone who's out there interested in becoming a city manager. I attended the Homestead Museum, the Workman Temple Homestead Museum last weekend, and it was for Foothill Transit. I am the liaison for that group. And Foothill Transit received the Green Award for being out trying to go as green as possible and for having the first electric bus in service in North America. And that was really nice to be in a place that is so close to our own city, actually. And let's see, one last thing was I just wanted to ask if we could possibly have a dial-a-ride update. I think it's been past 60 days, and I know that was one of the things we said we didn't want to go too far before we saw how the service was being implemented. So possibly maybe the first meeting in November or second, if we could, Kathy, if that would give you enough time. And I think that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Escarra?
Yeah, just one little item. Today's the start of the 3-foot buffer zone
Oh, the bikes.
for bikes. So I'd just like to remind everybody that that's now a law, and you've got to keep a safe distance from bicyclists as you drive along. So being a part-time bicyclist, and you're more of a full-time bicyclist,
I'd like to know how they're going to enforce that.
I don't see how.
So a police officer's gonna say, well, I saw you within 2 feet 9 inches, and, You know, I don't know, it's gonna be tough to enforce, but yeah.
Yeah, how
that's
are you
okay.
guys gonna do that?
But you know what, the nice thing is our bike lanes, if you notice when you go down Rosen Boulevard, there is more than a 3-foot buffer, so if you just stay in your lane, you're good. Just don't
Unless
go
there's a
on-
trash can and you have
Unless there's a
to.
trash can, you gotta swerve around it, then you got a problem. Okay.
That's
Yeah?
all I have.
All right. Okay, well, I just have a couple things. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I know it's getting late. I did also attend, as Councilmember Sternquist said, the League of California Cities. It was in Los Angeles this year. Mayor Bloom was also present, as was our city manager, Brian Cook, was there, and a lot of other people were there as well. Peggy was there. Peggy took a class. So we had a lot of people attended. It was a very good conference, I thought. A lot of good breakouts. I don't know if that was the same one I attended. Was it on the city managers? The one I attended was called Next Generation Managers: What Every Council Member Should Know. Was it the first one, or was it later? But you know, I went to that and I thought, man, I should have gone to this before we did the interviews. But
No, we went to, it was at the same time because you
Was it?
went to that and I
Oh,
went to
okay.
this.
But it was very, the nice thing about it is everything that they said about what we should look for in a city manager, I don't want to, you know, pound ourselves on the back, but I think we did it this time. You know, it's one of those things where everything they were saying, what we should be looking for and what is out there, you know, I think we pretty much hit it. So that was encouraging. Just a really couple of quick statistics. In 1971, 71% of city managers were under the age of 40, and only 27% had advanced degrees. In 2012, only 11% are under the age of 40, which means they're getting older or we're hiring older, and 65% have advanced degrees. So quite a change. The so-called Generation X, you know, is where they're mostly coming from in the 35 to 49 years of age. And so, you know, like I said, there were a lot of good tips about how to attract a good city manager. I think we followed that to a T almost.
I think we went a few extra steps.
Yeah, we probably did go a few extra steps. So a couple of things that they talked about, of course, were, you know, make sure the city manager is committed to the organization, challenges the status quo, encourages a friendly work environment, all those things that I think we'll see happening around here. So anyway, it was good to know that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. We always have a keynote speaker. This year was a Michael Pritchard. I don't know if anybody knows Michael Pritchard. He looked familiar to me, but I think he acts. But you know, the purpose of the keynote speaker is always to kind of be inspiring, and he was very inspiring. He was very funny but very heartfelt. And the thing that I took away from that is that in talking with council members or talking to council members, he thought it was very important that we take time to see things with our hearts and to lead with compassion. And I know that sometimes gets lost in all the things that we do, but you know, I think I can speak for everybody up here that we really try to do that for the community, and we know that there are tough issues that sometimes we have to deal with, but I think everybody up here has a pretty good sense of making sure that we do that. I got to share one quote though. He was talking about John Wayne, and I forget in what context it was, but it was very funny. He said, John Wayne said, "Life is tough, but it's a lot tougher when you're stupid." You know, so I forget what he was talking about, but obviously don't be stupid about things. And also, if you're depressed, the best thing to do is to go visit a kindergarten class. So that's something that we keep in mind. Although nowadays, I don't know if you can just walk into a kindergarten class, because then you got other problems, right? All right. The other one I attended, which actually very topical, drought, statewide perspective and lessons learned. Obviously, we all know what the drought is. Two cities were highlighted. Tehachapi, which has a population of about 8,000. They have a below-ground water supply. And what they've done is they've actually instituted ordinances to make it a penalty for excessive use, and they've been fining people that live there for excessive use. On the other hand, City of Long Beach has gone the other way, and they've actually looked for more of a cultural change in working with their citizens to make them want to reduce their water usage. And as everybody has been saying, and I think we've been saying up here, we're looking for a 20% reduction, which really isn't that much if you think about it. If you have your sprinklers on for 5 minutes, put it down to 4 minutes, and now you've done a 20% reduction. So, you know, it's not that hard. But one of the things that they did say, though, is that California is in better shape than the rest of, or Southern California is in better shape than the rest of the state. So, you know, we're not panicking, but, you know, we do need to take measures to make sure that doesn't look like there's much rain coming in the future, so. And then last one, government to governance, about forming public-private partnerships. We actually do that now. As many of you know, we're a contract city, so we do a lot of that public-private partnerships. We obviously partner with our sheriff department and other things to other entities to handle some of our services. Your former boss was Paul Aravallo was one of the lead guys on that. So very informative, you know, talking about how we'd go about doing that. And of course, those are a lot of things that we do here as well. So good conference. You know, our city attorney, Burke Williams Sorensen, well represented there, of course. Eric had a booth there, and it's always good to see a lot of the members. Kelly's here tonight as well. So we get a chance to see a lot of the other attorneys in the firm that we don't get a chance to normally see. Last thing is, last week, I think it was last week, Mayor Bloom and I met with Representative Father Mark Strader from St. Luke's and an individual. You may recall that we had looked at the bingo issue and their request to look into remote caller bingo. And the purpose of the meeting, and it was at their request, and Mayor Bloom set it up, and because I was part of that ad hoc, I joined it to see what issues, because it kind of fell by the wayside for now. But they're thinking of looking into what's called remote caller bingo. As we do allow bingo in our city, our ordinances do allow for that, but we don't allow for this new concept of remote caller bingo, which is a little bit different, although it was a good meeting in that they explained to us the differences and the also how it's similar. And so we asked staff to look into that, to get us some more information and bring that back to either, I don't think, it'll either be the city code ad hoc committee or to the council as a whole to look into that further. And of course, it's not just for St. Luke's. It would be available to all 501c3 organizations or 501c or any fraternal organization. So more to follow on that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I attended the League of Cities meetings also. Just for those that don't know, there are 481 cities in California. So the League of Cities is an organization where those cities get together and obviously compare notes and talk about topical issues. Two issues I went to, and you know, what they talked about inspiring, I went to two in a row and I came away very depressed. One had to do with the clean water issues, and we've been talking about that, the Clean Water Act. You know, we've added street sweeping, additional street sweeping, you gotta, you know, no parking on sides. This is all part of trying to address this issue. And their figures, and this was, several people have been studying this, they're projecting per capita what it may cost cities to do this, and taking the number of people we have in this city, the annual bill in the future could be anywhere from $3 to $4 million. Big issue, and I know the county's looking at some funding measures to try to help with this, and anyhow, it's a big issue, and it's coming faster than we think, and within the next few years, we're probably going to be faced with this issue. The second one had to do with requiring cities to no longer have at-large elections. These selections are candidates where you have to form districts. And my impression, I may be wrong from the attorney, but it sounds like there's a couple ambulance chaser attorneys out there that are going after cities. And the cities, I mean, they're basically, I don't know if blackmailing's the right word to use, but I mean, they're basically going after cities, requiring them to do something, and then they negotiate with the cities. And I think the city of Palmdale settled for $3 million or something.
Jeez.
That was their settlement to say, okay, we're not going to fight you on this issue. And they're doing this to all cities, and you know, I know I alerted Peggy, and I'm sure our city attorney, to be aware of once they start asking some questions, because they may be coming after you. And all they're doing is running up a bill and then sending it to you. And the way the laws are set up right now, they can do that, and you're stuck. So it was obviously of concern. City of Whittier is involved in the issue right now, if you're reading about it. Palmdale's involved. There's a number of cities around the state. So, Eric, I think, you know, we need to really stay ahead of, you know, what they're trying to do. And it didn't sound pretty. I mean, I talked to a number of council people, you know, between the sessions and stuff like that. And, I mean, they were not happy campers. And so it's something we need to be aware of. Okay, this past weekend, there was the open house at Linden Walk. This is the 74 units of housing that we're putting in down on Lower Azusa between the railroad track and the wash down there. I mean, really nice. Those of you that had the opportunity to go down there and look at them, I mean, the model homes were really nice. And I mean, this thing's really moving along quite well. And anybody who went down there should be very pleased. I think it's going to be a great addition to our city. The last two things we already touched upon. Next Tuesday, we're having a joint meeting. The council's having a joint meeting with the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And then the following Tuesday, we're having a joint meeting with the Temple City Unified School District Board of Directors. And that's basically, there's a lot of new members on the Chamber's board. So, you know, we have a new city manager, so it's sort of one of these, let's all get together since we're all significant players in town. We held off on these meetings until Brian got on board so we could have him in on the discussions. Same with the Temple City Unified School District. There's 2 new board members there that we haven't met with. There's a new superintendent over there. We've got a new city manager, so just an opportunity for us to get down and, you know, just build that working relationship that we have. Okay, we'll move to item 15 on the agenda, reimbursement of expenses to city officials. There is none. We will now recess to the successor agency to the Temple City Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. I'd like to call that meeting to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
Agency Member Sternquist.
Present.
Agency Member Vizcara.
Here.
Agency Member Yu is absent. Vice Chair Chavez.
Here.
Chairman Bloom.
Here. The consent calendar, all consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion.
Do we need to excuse Councilmember Yu?
Yeah, you can.
Make a motion to excuse Councilmember Yu.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to excuse him. He's so excused. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar,
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent calendar is approved. We go to unfinished business. There is none. New business, there is none. Communication, there is none. Public comments. Anybody care to comment on the successor agency? If not, I will close public comments. An update from the executive director and agency council. I believe there is none. Matters from agency members, there is none. Closed session, there is none. We are adjourned, and we will reconvene as the council. Item 17 is actions taken by the city. We approve the consent calendar. We're in item 18, additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Anyone care to speak? Going once, going twice? Okay, we will close the second public comment time. We now have a closed session. It's a conference on labor negotiations. It's the last item we have, so we will now move into closed session.
You have to keep tapping it?
Doing well?
Very well. You're finding your sea legs here?
Find out where the bathroom is. I'm good.
Okay. Where to park your car?
Yeah, I'm good.
What's left?
Bathroom, parking, I'm all good.
Thank you.
What are you eating?
Okay. Okay, if we could have a report on the closed session, please.
Mayor, it'd be my pleasure. City Council met In closed session, we had one item, conference with labor negotiator. Council received an update. There was no other reportable action, and Councilmember Chavez recused himself, did not participate on the basis of the advice of the city attorney of a potential conflict of interest. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe we are now adjourned. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bill.